welcome back to my channel. This is Sade of shardenodyzoff. Today we are talking about self-care. Wait, what? What does that have to do with traveling? Everything. Self-care has a lot to do with not only my personal experiences with traveling and helping to manage my day-to-day life, because we're all busy. We live in a very busy society. So I wanted to, as part of the lifestyle portion of my channel, to start talking about self-care. And today I wanted to share with you about showing up for yourself. And that means taking the first steps to go down the rabbit hole, as it were, and to do what you need to do to start getting in touch with who you are. Because I can tell you at some point these questions are going to slap you in the face, and you want to start confronting them and confronting yourself ultimately. One of the ways to do that is to really start asking yourself the important questions. And what these things do are to help shape, your purview, how you view the world right now. And these questions definitely change over time. But, starting to ask yourself these questions really helps to build a strong sense of self. And if you can't answer these questions, these are things that you want to sit with. And I've had to sit with these questions multiple times over my adult life, just trying to figure out how I'm going to move about the world. So you have to figure out what ways, you make yourself happy in your lifetime. How do you continue to be healthy? How do you continue to have, good mental health practices, good physical health practices? And the beginning of that is really showing up for yourself, making the decision that you are going to take the time to really dig deep and to delve deep into yourself so that you can figure out who are you. And I really started doing this probably around, I think, October. I was having such a hard time just day to day. I was battling a lot of what I call dragons, and I got that from my best friend. And that's when you're dealing with your mental issues. You're dealing with negativity, the thoughts, inadequacy, uncertainty, all of those things. And, it became a lot. So that was the point in which I really kind of put my foot down and said, I need to figure out how to do things better. And I know part of the reason I got to that point is because of my stress level. I have a high stress level. I actually had to take a stress test, and I have unhealthy levels of stress. And that's my norm, but that is also highly problematic, right? So I really started trying to figure out how to best manage myself in a way that is more healthy. And part of what I did was to start journaling. That's one of my methods. And I don't journal every day. I mostly journal when I feel the need to. And it helps me to take that moment out and really, sit with whatever I'm thinking, feeling, going through. And I went out and bought, really basic black journal. I got mine from Office Max, and I'll link it and all of the other things I talk about in the description box as usual. But, like I said, with my calendar, I need space. One, because I'm a writer in general. So I need some space to write, but you might want to get a journal that makes you happy, makes you feel like writing, and things like that. But I don't just write journal entries. I also answer these hard questions. So I put my goals in this journal. I talked about with myself what makes Sade happy. Who is Sade? Like, what types of things am I trying to put out into the universe? What am I trying to receive from the universe? Those sorts of things. And by doing that, I have, made myself really deal with these things. And once you put it on paper, it's cathartic in a lot of ways. It helps you to sort of release whatever those things are. And it also is a reminder you can go back and look at those things. One of the things that I'm working on right now is something I call the 100. And the 100 is 100 things that you like or love. And I did this years ago with a friend of mine, and I felt the need to do it again because it helps me to see how I've grown, what's changed. But also, if you're like me and you don't take time for yourself, I can reference the 100 and say, these are the things I like, so I need to be doing something that lends to that, which makes me happy. So my challenge to you, Stamp Gang, is to do the 100 for yourself. Write it down somewhere and think about those things, and also examine those things. Now, I will say that this is a long process. It's also, you know, hard, very hard, and it's not something you get done in a year or in 6 months or anything like that. Like, this is something that I've committed to, and I, you know, encourage you to commit to as well, because it will help you to just be better. The other thing that I do to sort of help lend to asking myself the hard questions as well as being better for myself is I read books. And, you know, some people don't like self-help books. I love self-help books because sometimes I find them very inspiring. I'm going to share with you, one, what I'm reading right now, and the 2 books that I have read probably in that last quarter of the year where I really started doing this. And what helps me to stay on top of the reading is I have an accountability buddy. Accountability buddies are wonderful. My sorority sister, Corla, she and I read these books together. So we might read a chapter a week, and then we'll have a check-in to talk through the book, but also to check in on life and make sure we're doing the things that we're supposed to be doing, because we both are creative types. So that means that we have real jobs and things like that, but we also have things we want to be lending to our careers that we love to do. We have to create for our well-being and check in with each other and make sure that we have done something creative, that we're on top of our what I call soul work, and we'll talk about soul work in another video. But the first book that we read is called You Are a Badass by Jen Sincero. And what this is more or less talking about is how you tap into a sense of confidence and use that to share your gifts with the world. And I found this book to be fantastic. It was really funny. It was kind of lighthearted. Not a hard read at all. None of these are really hard reads. And there were things in this book that helped me to ask those hard questions, and I would write them down, write my answers to it. So it's not anything long or anything like that, but things that made me think. If there was something that made me think, I wrote it down. That's my method for helping to sort of unpack ideas. The second book I read, which I'm going to have to read again, it was absolutely amazing, is Radical Self-Love by Gala Darling. And it's pretty self-explanatory that from the title. It's talking about how you love yourself better and how you realize that you're what she calls a goddess babe. I thought this was super helpful because not only does it have the chapters, but it also has tips at the end of the chapter, but also homework assignments that you can try out that lend to the lessons that she goes through in each of the chapters. So really good book, and I will be reading it again this year. The book that I am reading now is Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes. And I just started it. So far, it is really good. And what really drew me to this book was the idea of thinking through what it means to just go for it. For a year, for a lifetime, all of those. So that's why I started reading this. And it's talking about how do you make your life, how do you, what she calls, stand in the sun. So, you know, having a certain carefreeness and doing things that you're afraid to do and things that you don't normally do. I think that is going to be super helpful as I continue to move forward, getting out of my own comfort zone. One of the quotes in the first pages of the book that I read that really stuck out to me is that saying yes should feel like the sun. And that is really moving me in 2017. So share with me, Stamp Gang, what are some hard questions that you've started asking yourself? And also, again, I encourage you to at least do the 100. As usual, it's a pleasure. And don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to tell a friend about the channel. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.